Right, OK, so we've got Kevin and Dan with us. We talked about why the demand is so big for Sesko, but of course, we are now comparing Sesko to Isak because it might be one out, one in at Newcastle. How different are they as strikers?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, physically, they're significantly different. Isak is a lot more polished in what he does, but of course, that's been a process. There is still a rawness about Sesko. But you look at his journey, he was at Salzburg and he took a while to get going there, but once he did, he started to score goals. And I do think he's dynamic enough, I do think he's physical enough to deal with the Premier League. And what I like about him is that he's not scared to try things. There was a goal towards the back end of last season that I commentated on against Bayern, where the goalkeeper, Jonas Urbich, was a long way off his line. A lot of players would just lift that ball over the top of the goalkeeper. He went, now I'll just hit it with the outside of my boot. Yeah, we've just backed myself.
Show that goal a lot, and rightly so, because it is.
It's an unbelievable goal.
It does stand out.
And he strikes the ball beautifully. Decision making sometimes needs a bit of work, but he's 22. So I think clubs are looking at him and thinking he's got a high ceiling.
But then, Kevin, I wanted to ask you how, maybe right now, as you mentioned, comparing him to Isak is very different compared to when Isak first joined from Real Sociedad. So when Isak joined Newcastle initially, he felt a little raw in terms of his finishing. So where would you compare Šeško's development to maybe where Isak started when he first came to Newcastle?
Yeah, I think that's fair, actually, because the leap that Isak has made was not guaranteed. And there have been a lot of Premier League clubs that had looked at him and nobody pulled the trigger until Newcastle made that move. And that was always the question, could he translate what he'd done in La Liga to the Premier League? And he's been able to do that. It was interesting, there were a lot of comparisons between Sesko and Gyökeres with Arsenal, because Arsenal have been very interested in him for quite some time and then pivoted to Gyökeres. Gyökeres is probably a win now guy, but I think in 2-3 years' time, Sesko, I think, has that higher potential, but I think he can score goals in the short to medium term as well.
Very interesting.
So, Pete did say how a deal between Newcastle and Sesko might be close, and there was a big but there, wasn't there? Manchester United could come in as well, and he could go there. Would Manchester United, Dan, potentially have the upper hand because of Rasmus Hojlund? Where does he fit into that deal?
It's very interesting, and I think Manchester United's window is going to be very interesting going forward until this deadline. And we know Manchester United have been having conversations with RB Leipzig about what a deal could look like for Sesko. But in terms of what that looks for Rasmus Hojlund, let's not forget they spent £72 million on a 20-year-old Hojlund just a few years ago. And if it suits the player and club, of course, United suits the United need to sell players as well to raise more funds if they are to strengths in midfield and up front. So very interesting. All I would say, though, is for Rasmus Hojlund is, you know, he gets a lot of criticism scoring 4 goals in the Premier League last season. But we can conclude last year that the whole team really struggled under Amorim's new system while they were getting used to it. The team now, compared to where Hojlund joined 2 years ago, had the likes of a young Alejandro Garnacho, an injury-ridden Antony Martial. Marcus Rashford was struggling for form. You look at the team now, even if Sesko arrives, having Mbeumo, Cunha around you, Bruno Fernandes, it's just a completely different team. So I personally think Hojlund maybe just needs a bit more patience to be given to him and see how he works with this refined and fitter, as Amorim has said out in America, team that's had more time with him in his system.
Would he fit in at Leipzig, though, if Leipzig did want Hojlund as part of this deal, or separate deal, or loan maybe? Would he fit in there? Would it work for Leipzig?
It would. They've looked at him before. They've been credited with an interest in him before. He's somebody, I think, that would fit their style of play, somebody that does want to run in behind, does want to make those runs. I know his link-up play can be a bit ragged, but I agree with Dan, actually. I think there's a quality player there still. I think it's crazy to give up on him at this stage because so many players have lost their confidence there. It's been a really difficult club to judge players at. You look at Xerxes, gone there with a decent reputation, and it hasn't happened for him either. But the fact that he's still willing to give this a go and fight for his place, I'd give it a little bit more time, but I understand the financial imperatives that United have.
Yeah, well, lots going on at Manchester United, and one player who looks to be staying is Bruno Fernandes. It comes as Al Nassr failed in an attempt to sign the Manchester United captain. You may remember Fernandes rejected the chance to join Saudi Pro League rivals Al Hilal earlier this summer, right? But Dan, how important is it that they keep him?
Yeah, I mean, on that point, we understand, in recent weeks, Al Nassr, of course, a prominent team out in Saudi Arabia, have also failed in an attempt to sign the Manchester United captain. And, I mean, his importance is unparalleled when you consider where would United have been without him last season. And you just look at his statistics there last season, and Kevin, you can look at it as well in terms of give that a bit more context. But, considering how much of a struggle it was for United last season, he was pretty incredible individually.
Well, it's a pretty damning statement if you let a player of that quality and that importance go. And I think he is an identity figure. He is somebody that does grab games by the scruff of the neck. I know he has had criticism sometimes for some of his meltdowns in the bigger games, but actually, you look at the body of work in general, he's very, very impressive. And perhaps most importantly of all, Ruben Amorim time and time again speaks up for him and talks about how important a player he is. So to let him go effectively for financial reasons, I think is a really bad look. So I think it's really important they keep him.
But there are players who Amorim does want to leave, isn't there, Dan? Garnacho, Antony, Sancho, Malacia, they all need to find new clubs this summer. But it's looking at this stage, with 4 weeks left, it's easier said than done.
Absolutely, and I think they all have their own individual circumstances. With Jadon Sancho, we reported last week, Borussia Dortmund could be potential suitors once again for Sancho, but there's going to have to be considerations on Sancho's part with his salary demands. You look at Alejandro Garnacho, and we'll be talking about Chelsea very soon. We know they're very much, admirers of Garnacho, but they have other targets they're trying to get over the line, perhaps before they pursue that deal. Terrell Malacia has just not played a lot of football, so when clubs look at him, very difficult to have an evaluation on him as well. And Antony, we've seen he was very good at Real Betis, but again, is there a market for him right now in terms of his wages and the fee United would want for him? Well, we'll have to find out, but I don't think United's window is by far done anytime soon, but there's a lot of incomings and outgoings, but they also have to keep the sheets balanced as well.
Yeah, there are some quotes from Amorim on Garnacho in particular, by the way. Here they are. It says, a really talented boy, and sometimes things don't work out. You cannot explain specifically what it is. But I have the feeling, I think it's clear that Garnacho wants a different thing with a different leadership. And I can understand that. So I think it's not a problem. That's Amorim on Garnacho. One player who has gone, or at least temporarily, is Marcus Rashford. Kevin, he's gone to Barcelona. But is he going to be allowed to play? What's going on with his registration?
So we're back again to Barcelona and their registrations. Because of the financial issues they have, it's not easy for them. They don't have a lot of wriggle room in terms of the salary cap with La Liga. So they haven't yet been able to register him. Now, he's spoken to the media about this. He says he's relaxed. He says that he's happy to let the club get on with it. But if you look at the situation currently with their goalkeeper, Marc-Andre ter Stegen, now he was their undisputed first choice, but he was injured last season. Wojciech Szczesny, who came in to deputise for him, has been given a new contract, even though he was brought out of retirement for that gig. Joan Garcia's come in from Espanyol. He's going to be the number one. So you've got a situation with ter Stegen where Barca would quite like him off the wage bill. He's injured at the moment. And the club know that if he was out for 4 months injured, then they would get some relief from the salary cap for his wages. He made a very pointed statement with this back injury and said, I'll be back in 3 months' time. So he's aware they're trying to shift him on.
Play the game, come on.
But this is the interesting...
Just say it's 4.
But this is the problem, you see. You've got a situation where you've got these battles of wills all the time. You've got players they're trying to shift out who don't really want to go. And so it just shows you Barcelona have this wider issue. But if they can sort out the wider Rashford situation, I think it's great for everyone. He gets a fresh start at a big club. They get somebody who can cover multiple positions. United get him off the wage bill.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's another historic day at Old Trafford, and you're watching Man United Sky TV, your #1 source for all the latest breaking Manchester United transfer news. And today, it's official. Manchester United have completed the £75 million signing of Benjamin Sesko from RB Leipzig. The deal is done, the contracts are signed, and the future of the Red Devils frontline just got a lot more exciting. Let's break it all down. Manchester United have confirmed the arrival of Benjamin Sesko in a blockbuster deal worth £75 million, bringing an end to weeks of intense speculation and negotiations. The Slovenian international has signed a 5-year contract, with the option for an additional year, and is expected to join up with the squad immediately following his medical, which was completed earlier this week. The announcement was made via Manchester United's official channels, with Sesko pictured holding up the famous red shirt at Carrington alongside new manager Ruben Amorim, who played a key role in sealing the deal. Manchester United weren't the only club chasing Sesko's signature. Newcastle United made a strong push, submitting an opening bid and holding talks with RB Leipzig. But in the end, it was United's vision, tradition, and Amorim's personal pitch that won the race. Sesko is believed to have been excited by the prospect of playing under Amorim, who views him as the perfect striker to lead his high-intensity, pressing system at Old Trafford. United's executive team, including Dan Ashworth and technical director Jason Wilcox, were also instrumental in pushing the deal over the line, with negotiations reportedly moving swiftly once Leipzig named their price last week. Shortly after the official announcement, Sesko gave his first interview to MUTV. He said, "It's a dream to join a club like Manchester United. I've always admired the history and passion here. I can't wait to work under Ruben Amorim and help bring success back to this amazing club." Sesko added that he's eager to challenge himself in the Premier League and has already spoken with current United players who made him feel welcome. The 21-year-old also mentioned how he's looking forward to the opportunity to develop into one of Europe's top strikers at the Theatre of Dreams. The signing of Benjamin Sesko fits perfectly into United's long-term strategy. At just 21 years old, he represents a massive investment in potential, but also immediate impact. Last season at RB Leipzig, Sesko scored 18 goals in all competitions, showing impressive composure, pace, and movement. His combination of height, athleticism, and technical ability has drawn comparisons to Erling Haaland, and United believe they've signed a striker who can dominate in England for years to come. With Rasmus Hojlund already at the club, Amorim is expected to rotate or even experiment with a two-striker system at times, but Sesko is seen as the new number 9, and the main man leading the line. So, what's next for Manchester United and Sesko? He's expected to make his unofficial debut in a preseason friendly in the coming week, and could be in line to start the Premier League opener, depending on match fitness and tactical preparations. United are also working to clear space in the squad, with names like Mason Greenwood, Jadon Sancho, and Donny van de Beek all linked with exits to fund further moves. This signing marks a statement of intent by the Red Devils. Amorim wanted a striker, and the board delivered. United fans can now start dreaming again, with a frontline led by one of Europe's most exciting young talents. So, Manchester United fans, it's finally official. Benjamin Sesko is a Red. What are your thoughts on this £75 million signing? Is he the striker to fire United back to the top? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a beat during this transfer window. You've been watching Man United Sky TV. We'll be back with more breaking news soon. Glory, glory Man United.